So, first things first, how are you?
I'm well, thank you for asking.
That's good to hear.
Yeah, I'm alright actually. I feel like since the album's come out, it's been like a really nice relief, like a little weight off my shoulder in a way, because I kind of sat on it for a little while. So it's nice to just put it out and brush it off, you know.
Before we get into the album, I'd like to jump back a little bit to the beginning. And I read that you already started writing songs at 11.
Yeah.
What did songwriting do for you at that point in your life?
Well, I mean, I feel like when I say I was writing songs at 11, I was writing songs that were terrible. Like they weren't like masterpiece songs or anything. I think it was more just a way for me to express myself without having to be so direct with people, because I think I really struggled, especially when I was younger, and I feel like I've gotten better with it now, but I really struggled to like communicate how I was feeling to people, because I think I just felt like people wouldn't understand, or I wouldn't be listened to, I wouldn't be heard. So I think I just used songwriting as a way to just kind of express myself and write words that might not really mean anything, but really it was just me trying to like feed out information to the world in a way, in my bedroom when I was like 11 or whatever.
But I do find it interesting that you found music that early. Were your parents musical at all, or?
They weren't like necessarily musical. It was more just they like loved music. Like my dad sort of plays guitar, but in a way that he plays like 3 chords and like gives up and stops playing. But like my family are kind of not in any way involved in any kind of musical stuff. They just love music. Like they always brought really great and also awful like bands and artists to me, and then kind of let me make my own opinion on them. Like even when I was younger, my dad really liked the Chili Peppers or like Led Zeppelin, so he kind of brought that more like, even like 90s bands, like he kind of brought the more band side out of me, and also introduced me to Carole King, who for me is like one of my biggest icons. And he brought me that CD when I was really young, and then my mum kind of like really liked Fleetwood Mac, and like my mum also liked really pop music, so that's kind of I think where my pop influence side comes from as well, because I really like pop melody as well. Yeah.
And I suppose they were quite supportive because you were playing in bars at age 13.
I mean, like beyond supportive, I think that they kind of taught me that like whatever you want to do is cool, like fucking do it, but like work hard at it, because it like for me as well, like I come from a very like hardworking family, and they always say like if you want to do it, that's fine, but if you don't work your ass for it, like it won't happen. So it was kind of that like we'll help you, we'll drive you, we'll do whatever we can, but you need to work and like you need to be focused, and I kind of take that on board all the time, and I think that's just like in my personality now.
What is one memory that sticks out from playing in bars at that age?
Just like the consistent disappointment of nowhere being there.
Okay.
Like I remember we used to do some really awkward gigs, because it was always like in my mind I always wanted to play for people, and I'd write my songs, and I always wanted people to be there, and I mean no one was going to come, like because it wasn't any good. But there was like also like a really nice like there was no pressure about it. It was like because there was no one there, and also it was all from like my heart. It didn't really matter. It was kind of like just play the songs, have fun. Like afterwards we'd all go out and get like a meal or something. I think it was just it was just nice. It was just about music because of music, not good, bad, this or that. It was just whatever, you know.
With that in mind then, because you mentioned being able to release the album is kind of a weight off your shoulders, and I think it's about 3 years in the making, this album. So,
Yeah.
and then, but now you're in Amsterdam playing a sold-out show. So in that sense, do you feel any pressure now, or because you say back then it was just we'll make a fun day out of it and that's fine. But is there more weight to it now?
Yeah, but it comes from myself, I think, because like even like I've always been like quite a perfectionist, I think. And when I was younger, I was still in my head was like everything has to be perfect. But now I think I'm more and more, especially as I more educate myself on other artists or writers or how they did this or how they produced that or whatever it is. I think I more and more take on the like pressure of like, if this isn't going to be fucking great, then I think it's pointless making it. And even for the album, I found myself in quite a spirally rut throughout that process, because it was kind of like in the beginning, it was like I'd written a bunch of songs and we started recording them and it was cool. And then maybe a year into making the record, I started to really like add that pressure of like, what are you doing? Is this really good? I can't tell. Like, is it shit? I'm not sure. Like, and I think it was just kind of that like heavy weight of self-pressure that really started to make the album process really difficult. So I will say that I think over time, I went through a period where it was really like so much self-pressure to the point where I couldn't write anything. And I just thought everything wasn't good. And now I've kind of identified that as like a factor in my personality that I just have to try and like push past and be like, okay, this is what you're doing. You need to like give yourself a minute, calm down, take a breath. But yeah, I think I've gotten better with like dealing with it.
So I imagine a song like Wasted Time is where that comes from.
Yes, exactly. It's that feeling of, even, especially because that kind of self-pressure for music, because music is like everything in my life. It kind of just leaked into everything else. So even everyone around me, I felt like maybe everyone hates me, or maybe my friends like are annoyed by me, or whatever it was. It kind of became like a sense of like I'm not good enough as a person. And that's where Wasted Time came from. But in a way, like Wasted Time was like an uplifting point once I wrote it, because it was like, oh, that feeling for so long is like channeled into something productive. And I think that's where I'm like, okay, music is great. We're making feelings that are horrible or difficult times into something that can be shared and like understood by everyone, and people can come together with it. I think that's like the point of making music.
I always find that very interesting kind of, I don't know, maybe dynamic in the sense that when you become a musician or an artist, even a visual artist, you have to put yourself out there in a way. So especially in you saying how critical you can be on yourself, how was that early on, the first couple of things that you did? To put yourself out there, and even when you're 13, going on, standing in front of a couple of people in a bar. I mean,
it's like it's difficult. I think it's difficult to be open with people in general, though. I don't think it's just necessarily like a musician thing. I think to be open with even your friends and family about how you feel is a difficult thing, because it puts you in a vulnerable position. And I think the same thing for when I first started making music. I felt quite closed off, and I felt like maybe I didn't want to like share everything, and I don't know. And then when I was writing, that's the one place that's always been the consistent thing of like, I just say whatever the fuck I want to say when I write a song, and that's it. And that's what I write about. I write about like the truth for me. And so, I don't know, it's like a weird juxtaposition in a way.
Is it then, is that kind of your way of explaining certain things or understanding certain things?
Yeah, but I've started to feel like the mindset of holding stuff in is like not, it doesn't work. It's not a good idea. Like you should be able to talk to people, you know, and just like be okay with yourself, and, you know, be able to feel like it's okay to be vulnerable with people and they're not going to like take something from you.
Well, this ties in with another song. I think California Numb is something I wrote a line down from it where I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you can hear the punchline that I don't like my face or how I'm turning out. So is that part of that?
Yeah. It's I'm just a face in a crowd who took a life for a ride on California Numb, down to try the sun. If you could only see me now, you could hear the punchline that I don't like my face or how I'm turning out. And it's like that thing of saying to yourself, like, I don't like who I'm becoming, you know. I need to be able to just stand true to myself for a minute.
But so a sentiment or a feeling like this, because I read something, I wrote down something else. Let's see if I can read my own handwriting.
I have the worst handwriting, honestly.
I can't even. They said, oh yeah, now I remember. They said change your name, it's the price you pay. down. Is that part of that sentiment? Is that part of a reaction on the music industry, or is that too far-fetched for?
In a way, yeah. I mean, it's not just music as well. It's just people. Do you know what I mean? It's not in the literal sense of change your name. Like it's kind of like your name is kind of your identity in a way, and it's like it's kind of saying like change your name is the price you pay for what you want. And I'm like, I don't want a handout, so I'll just keep fucking working out what I'm doing, stay on my like line of sight, and just work through it. That's kind of what I'm saying. But I mean, it's not just like shots at the music industry. It's kind of shots at everyone. No, just kidding.
No, but that's the thought that popped into my head when I heard that.